come to the studio. We're going to rehearse for one day for 4 hours. We're going to rehearse the song till we get it. Okay, see you guys at the studio the next day. During rehearsal, working it through, there was just a moment where James, who, rest in peace, he passed away unfortunately due to cancer. He had such a presence and was just so incredibly talented, but prepared, where he was like, look, man, that note on beat 3 in the first chorus, like, listen, like, are you playing that long or short? Pick one. You got to stick to it.
Yeah.
You ended it short that time. It was long. What are you doing?
3 things you will learn from this episode. Number 1, how to lead with versatility, adapting your skills to thrive in every arena from the studio to the stage. Number 2, the power of collaboration, building relationships that create Grammy-worthy results. And number 3, why curiosity is a leadership edge and how exploring passions, pickleball included, fuels creativity and innovation. Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. What do you get when you combine a Grammy-winning musician, producer, and trombone virtuoso, the trombonist in the band Mumford and Sons, a model featured in major campaigns for Nike, Adidas, and Cadillac, an artist who seamlessly blends jazz, pop, hip hop, and soul, and a certified pickleball coach? You get Darius Christian, a powerhouse redefining modern music. Darius is a Grammy-winning musician, producer, trombonist, and singer-songwriter known for his genre-blending sound that fuses indie rock, jazz, hip hop, and R&B. He was raised in Baltimore, and now he's moving to Denver. He earned a master's degree in jazz studies from NYU and has performed with artists like Macklemore, Gwen Stefani, the Jonas Brothers, Mumford and Sons, Michael Bublé, Rihanna. It goes on and on and on. Welcome to the show, Darius.
Thank you, Lyndsay.
It is a pleasure to have you here. I'm so excited.
Thank you. What an intro.
I start every show the same way, and I always ask our guests to share a little bit about their story. So would you be so kind?
Is there anything in particular you'd like to pinpoint?
Well, you have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's just start. What got you into playing music? What got you into the trombone?
I started out fairly young. I wasn't like 4 or 5. I was maybe more like 7, 8. I remember hearing a specific classical piece on the radio while my dad was driving, and I had that slow motion, like, epiphany moment where things, my perspective zoomed in. I just like honed in on this sound, and I didn't really understand what it was that I was hearing, because I was hearing all these beautiful instruments and harmony. It was I forget the piece of it. I always forget the piece. But one of these American symphonies. And it just blew my mind. I didn't understand what was happening. And my dad's also a preacher, a minister. So I grew up in the church around him, in essence, performing every Sunday, delivering a sermon. And I started out recording his sermon to tape. And we would take the tape with all my recording mistakes to the local station. And then they would play his sermon on like local AM radio. But then I started singing in the choir in church, and in 4th grade, they gave us the option of trying any instrument. And I wanted to play trumpet, but there was there were too many trumpet players. So my teacher handed me this long, awkward piece of pipe. I was like, "What is this? What is this?" And it was the trombone, and I kind of had this weird connection to it immediately, and I could kind of hear things and melodies. I wasn't great, but there was a little bit of an understanding of the instrument. And I kept playing throughout middle school, high school, started to get more involved with it. I started to sing, and I made a rock band with my friends. So I started to use that in the band, and that was an interesting thing. And then by the time it was time to apply for school, a lot of my friends were on like the Yale, Harvard track, studying business and like all sorts of different things. And I was just like, I don't really, I guess it's music. But there was always this sort of shame in comparison to some of my colleagues, even at the time, I was at a really kind of competitive public school where we had a strong AP program, college prep program. So there was this pressure to go out there and exceed and excel. And I didn't understand the way that the story of music making is like, yeah, you go out there, you try to get famous, you try to make a hit, and those are your only options. So I really had no idea, or you're unemployed and starving and addicted to drugs. So I had no idea what that was going to look like for me. So I applied to a program at Towson University in Baltimore, got in, thought I was doing music ed, and I was lucky enough to have amazing teachers who were like, listen, man, there is no fallback plan. Like, learn your instrument, understand the concept of mastery, put your 10,000 hours in, and quickly things started to happen for me musically where I was in undergrad. I was subbing for my professor on gigs if he couldn't make them. I was putting in a lot of work, no social life really, um, and just put my head down for about 6 years. Did undergrad and then a master's. I got a master's in NYU in New York City. And then sort of the things started to click for me where I was like, I'm getting to the point where I'm playing with like some incredible musicians, like the most prolific musicians were in New York City.
Yeah.
The people that can play, my friends who went to Juilliard or Manhattan School of Music, NYU, the New School. We were all coming up at the same time, and we had a lot of skill that we built through just like sweat equity. And it got to the point where I was studying jazz. I was a little bit burnt out on just like the archaic old school mythology, um, the methods of jazz study. It's very rigid. It's a really incredible way to learn your instrument, but
Mm.
I was feeling like trapped in a box creatively, and I was like, screw it. I want to play pop music. I want to play on TV. I want to tour. I want to play for big audiences instead of really small niche rooms of 20 people. And things started happening. A mixture of me showing up and building relationships and being able to deliver when I would be called to do little gigs with smaller artists, or building my own artistry. And the next thing I know, I was hosting residencies in Manhattan, different hotels or different like clubs. This beautiful speakeasy in Chinatown called Apotec was huge for me. I was there 2 years straight every Monday with my band or with my friend
Mhm.
bands, cultivating the sound, and that led to an opportunity to play with Macklemore for 6 years. I toured with him all over the world, built a huge community and network there, and actually through that sort of overlap, um, it led to an opportunity playing with Mumford and Sons. Again, relationships.
Yeah.
People calling me to do random wedding gigs for like the one percenters in New York City think of me later down in the road and like, hey, by the way, this I don't know what your schedule's like next year, but Mumford and Sons needs a trombone player. Would you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, of course, sure. And that led to them reaching
You
out and
exist. Yeah.
you know, no rehearsal, just going to the gig and playing the gig. Just um and so cut to a year and a half later, we're here and we're looking at finishing this year of touring. We've been out all year and we're going into the next year strong. So
Yeah. So, I mean, you hit on relationships, which is such a key component to leadership, to opportunities, to business, and certainly integral to everything that I do. But you didn't just go from Macklemore to Mumford and Sons. Like, there's been a lot of cool stuff in between. I mean, you were on TV with Michael Bublé, you've been on The Tonight Show, you've been on Good Morning America. I mean, you've done so many things. Can you talk about? I'm just because obviously we talk a lot about leadership and we talk a lot about, you know, being a successful leader. What were some of the moments for you where you found inspiration and whoever was leading the situation that you were in? And was there ever a moment where you were like, I'll never forget that, either bad or good?
yeah, opportunities were coming around, things were happening. I was young in New York City, like 26, 27, feeling, you know,
Great time to be
confident
in New
and
York.
whatnot. So great. Met my partner at that time,
Yeah.
like, which is an interesting story I'll get into later. But we, I got an opportunity to play with Jonas Brothers, and a sax player that I had become really close with by the name of James Casey had me on the gig, and my friend Enrique, who I've known now for almost 10 years. And we were doing Fallon, and it was one of those things where Jonas Brothers needs a horn section for TV. Can you guys come together? Okay, come to the studio. We're going to rehearse for one day for 4 hours. We're going to rehearse the song till we get it. Okay, see you guys at the studio the next day. During rehearsal, working it through, uh, there was just a moment where James, who, rest in peace, he passed away unfortunately due to cancer,
Mm.
he had such a presence and was just so incredibly talented, but prepared,
Mm.
where he was like, look, man, that note on beat three in the first chorus, like, listen, like, are you playing that long or short? Pick one. You got to stick to it.
Yeah.
You ended it short that time. It was long. What are you doing? And there was a moment where I was like, yeah, this guy is a dick. God. But
Yeah. Stay in your lane,
it
man.
forced us to lock in. And he was like, breathe on four. Here we go. Two, three. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, cool. We're working as a unit.
Yeah.
Like there's so much play calling, almost like you're a quarterback in the huddle before something happens. And James was like, yo, man, why'd you chip that note? We're about to be live. Like you can't do that. And I might be exaggerating some of his language, but he had such this energetic, joyful, like, but
Mm.
high mastery energy where he delivered to the point where you knew you had to just be that guy. You had to
Mm.
be on top of it. And so the day that we're in Fallon, we're backstage, he's like, all right, cool. We're not looking at the music. Sometimes they give you sheet music.
Mhm.
Normally you don't. You just learn from the record. He's like, all right, cool. Let's run it. And I remember him being like, all right, just one nod.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. All right, we're locked in. This is good. We did the taping. It's still on YouTube somewhere. We did one of their songs, and it was on Fallon. And so just that leadership in a section, because
Mm.
often when you're a horn player working with bands, you're an additional unit. You're not a
Right.
core member.
Well, that's what I was going to
So
ask you about
yeah,
because, I've had Hollywood producers on and we've had, people in theater that have all said, and I love this so much because I say this all the time in business, you have to let everyone do the jobs they were hired for. And I imagine in a band, it's similar, but horns, as you said, are extra. So you've got the core, right? You've got drums, guitar, keyboard, singer. And then horns are like the horn section, right? Unless it's like a big band that always has horns as an integral part. So how does that work from you coming in occasionally and catching the vibe? Like who's leading the show? How do you know what to do, who to follow?
well, here's the truth. The music is leading the show.
Mm.
And that's what's the most humbling part is this music that has been created, whether I was the songwriter or there are other writers, even if those writers aren't present, which is often the case, especially with pop music,
Hmm.
or if you're with the group that writes their own material, which is super sacred, they're serving the music. So our egos are
Check
out
it.
of the window.
Yeah.
It's whatever the music needs. If the music needs the horn section, then we're locked in. We're like number one priority. If it needs this more intimate, subtle, just voice and instrument, like our jobs as musicians is to serve the music, which then in turn serves the people.
Mm.
So that's really what it comes down to. There's been many a times where I've an artist will give me a song, they're like, yeah, let's put horns on this, and I'm hearing like like some crazy stuff, and it's like, no, dude,
You're
no,
like, where's that going?
no. Does that aid the story? Does that aid the mood of the? We serve as almost like filmmakers as well. I love that you mentioned filmmakers. If we're not painting the picture accordingly of like the message of the song, everything has to be aligned. So in these situations where we're a horn section that is an addition to a band, typically we might be working with either a musical director, specifically someone like a Dave Cook, who's one of the most amazing musical directors. He's done work with Taylor Swift, Thomas Rhett, so many people. When I worked with Miley Cyrus, the musical director was also the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm working with Mumford and Sons, there's no clear musical director,
Mm.
which I love those guys, and it's amazing. For some people who aren't secure in their musicality, it's really intense because you
Yeah.
don't know who to look to for exact feedback. Like we actually all come together as we're working out the live show, and it's a very unique situation. Sometimes Ben, the keyboard player, will turn around and give us notes. Marcus may give us notes.
Mm-hmm.
Ted is a sweetheart. He never says anything. Um, so it's any situation.
Yeah.
When I was doing Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, Gaga was running that thing,
Yeah.
and the energy around that was, I'm not calling it fun. Working with Gaga was not fun. It
Mm.
was she walks into the room, a new planet has entered the room, and she's a servant of the music,
Yeah.
but it's like you're working with somebody who has the reason she's where she's at is because she put
Right.
it all on the line for that attention to detail. And if you see her play her shows, she has worked out every part of that show.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where we were on stage. Tony wasn't there that day. There was a whole orchestra on stage sitting there for about 2 hours while Stephanie was in the house,
Mm-hmm.
just working on light cues with the lighting design person. Just sitting like, okay, let me do Bye Bye Blackbird or blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah My Way. Let's cut the purple. And we were sitting there like for 2 hours, kind of talking to each other. She's like, "Excuse me, we need silence while we're doing." And I was like, "Oh my god, this is so intense!"
She's such a
like
pro, but she's so intense. And
so pro. And it's
yeah,
like you find these various degrees of energy, and you have to learn how to be quiet and chill. And there's moments when you're super uncomfortable. You really want to say, "Well,"
yeah,
you really want to
move it
like,
along. Yeah.
but there are moments where you just gotta. There's an energy of almost like militant respect for the art. If you're there for the art, if you're there to get a paycheck, you're in the wrong career.
Yeah.
Period. But
Well, I think there's so much, and you kind of said it with Mumford and Sons. There's an energy that you kind of all vibe to and you connect on and you start to anticipate each other. And I think when you've been working well with any kind of team, whether it's sports or business or music, you kind of learn who's strongest at whatever and you let them do their thing that lets them shine. But it's for the good of the team. It's for the good of the mission. And I love that you kind of hit on that. So I loved when we first met, we were talking about pickleball, and that became a really big part of your life. So can you talk a little bit about the why and what it means now and just what you're doing with it?
yeah, the why was coming out of the pandemic, feeling this profound sense of loss, like truly wondering if I was ever going to play music with people again.
Yeah.
Musicians and creatives were the first to go, the
Yeah.
first to go home, and the last to return.
Mm,
So it was a stretch of time where it felt really, really bleak. I did then internally, I made like 3 albums. I wrote like 179 songs. I went really inward and produced a ton of music, but I was isolated. I was living in upstate New York at the time, away from my friends and community and family. The weather was awful. Um, and somehow I found the sport. I was introduced to it, and um, the first time I hit the ball, I was like, "What is this?" And it gave me a sense of joy. I felt like I was 8 years old again, finding a new. It was the same slow motion effect, that epiphany moment. It was the same thing. It triggered a part of my brain that was like, "Whoa, I can create patterns on the court if I learn how to master my limbs." And then I'm like, "Oh my God, some of these people are really good." And I'm like, "Wait, I need to practice. Wait, I need to study. Wait, I need to write." Like, I've written like documents and documents and documents of like pickleball theory about like sit still, don't screw up. I take note of my matches. I film myself. There's so much high level pickleball theory that I've integrated, that I've transferred from learning music, that I'm still transferring. And it allows me to stay in shape, since the pandemic, I stopped smoking weed. That was like my coping mechanism, um, which was only few like increasing my anxiety.
Mhm.
And drinking, I stopped drinking because my voice was struggling when I was trying to record. Um, it's a depressant. I'm very sensitive, so all those things turned into pickleball replacing it, and it profoundly impacted my life, and it still has. Where I've gone to these ridiculous retreats to Necker Island with Richard Branson,
Yeah,
and
I know that one.
like I've performed at these events music, but then I'm like, oh, let me play on the court with Drew Brees and hang, and like there's such a joy when I'm playing with pickleball pros. And I'm like, yeah, no, what? Yeah, I'm just a person. I'm a musician, but I'm gonna make you sweat. So there's an element of also pickleball's allowed me to, in a very healthy way, just project my competitive energy
Mhm.
because music again is not the space for that. Like unless you're trying to compete with yourself, like how many records can I put out in a year?
Sure.
Um,
But
how
you
great can
didn't
I
you
be?
didn't just play it and love it. You became a certified pickleball coach, which is no
Yeah.
surprise given the intensity you put behind your music. You did the same intensity with pickleball, except now you're doing both. So, what made you want to become a coach and what are you doing with it now?
A friend of mine, Kim, from Empower Pickleball, she we'd been talking back and forth around the time the Necker Island event. She was the one that linked me to Casey over at Necker Island, who I'm so profoundly grateful for both of them. They've changed my lives, and they're doing wonderful things in the space.
What are you
Coffee.
doing with the pickleball coaching?
I am at this point still because of my brain. I am at this point making sure my game is at a pro level,
Mhm.
like a true pro level, before I initiate with taking on clients.
Mm.
I feel as though I'd be very capable of doing clinics for beginners, but the way that I'm structured, I want to make sure that I'm at a really high advanced level.
Mhm.
I'm seeing progress tremendously in those efforts by playing tournaments as many weekends a month I can and drilling with pros and just hitting with ball machines. So before I start opening up my clinic side of things, which is going to be an interesting endeavor, where I do clinics in really beautiful places with a
Mhm.
couple other pros featuring live music. It's going to be a party. It's going to be great. Um, I'm making sure I'm able to demonstrate my skills on the court. And I see within the next year or so, I'm going to really start ramping up that side of things.
I love it. All right, let's
Yeah.
pause for 30 seconds and we'll come right back. I've got more questions for you, Darius, so sit tight. If you like the stories you hear every week on this show, guess what? I have hundreds more from my nearly 30 years in the leadership trenches. And I don't just talk about building irresistible culture, I do it. You can bring me into Keynote, moderate your panels, or work directly with your leaders to drive material change. So let's roll up our sleeves, go out to heartbeatforhire.com, let's connect, and let's make some magic happen. Go lead with heart. Welcome back. Okay, so here's a fun question. What inspires you?
I think study inspires me. Learning, the art of learning, the art of practicing really slowly and learning fast is what really sends chemicals through my brain.
Mm. I've never heard anyone answer that way. That was beautiful. What would you like your legacy to be?
Body of work, um, people to have access to my work, whether that be live performances, live recordings, my own records. I'm building a whole platform pretty soon here of mindset key points that people can access, similar to like a masterclass style, but in my own tailored, unique way. Digestible, but also very accessible for young people in college, people who aren't in the professional industry. Um, Leaving a mark where people also learn the joy of just studying and mastery, um, and
Can
just
you
a
share?
good, yeah.
Can you share a couple mindset tips?
Yeah, of course. I mentioned one of them, which is the art of practicing slow,
Mm.
and how that is just so pivotal. Um, the art of just like not being the loudest person in the room, you
Mm.
know, um, basically, again, curbing the ego, learning how to listen, being the best listener in the room, learning the art of saying no. So, for an opportunity, there's a triangle within music. If it's really good pay, if it's really amazing musicians or a good hang, or if it's great music. Typically, you don't accept an opportunity if it's just one of those things.
Mm.
It's got to be two of the three. If it's all three, you got yourself a great opportunity.
Locked and loaded.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, a couple of the things are just like embracing collaboration over isolation,
Mm.
the spirit of coming together to create a bigger project. And lastly, I mean, these are I have so many of these tips, but just the power of community and showing up for others.
100%. I love
Yeah.
that. And what's next for you?
Next up is, like I mentioned, building this platform for people to access these tips and these learning points. Winning some high level tournaments is up, and Mumford, the whole crew, we're going to hit the road here starting in October. We're doing all of the U.S., beautiful arenas, all the major cities, and then we're hopping across the pond, so to speak, and doing all of Europe. So we're going to be flying around from October 1st until the end of December. Into the new year, we got some huge shows that are going to be announced. The biggest one recently that's announced is in San Diego on December 27th. Huge show, great lineup of people, and yeah,
Amazing stuff. Okay, so how can people find you?
you can find me on the internet, Instagram at Darius Christian, and if you want to support my music, YouTube is great. YouTube Music is amazing. My music is on Spotify, but with everything that's going on, I like to speak out. You know, Spotify doesn't pay their musicians very well, so we get 0.0000001 every time the music is played. So if you want to support me truly, buy my music on Apple Music, um, support it that way on iTunes,
Yeah,
and if you like streaming, use Apple Music or Tidal or YouTube
love it.
over other sources. Yeah.
I love it. Well, this has been so fun. If you come to Boston, I will be waiting here with a cocktail and a hug and would love to see you. But
Amazing.
guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to Darius. He is such an inspirational human, and I have loved having you on the show so much. So thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. All right, everyone, sit tight. We've got an audience question coming right up. Thanks again, Darius. Today's audience question is an interesting one. The question is, how do I quickly change the culture of my team because the energy is not good right now? Well, the fastest thing that I would recommend is start celebrating people. When you are a leader who gives of themselves all the time, and by giving of themselves, I mean lift each other up, recognize people on your team for doing great things. This is a really easy way to change the tone. And when you do that, when you constantly are saying, "Hey, Jimmy, I love how you did that last sale. Will you tell the team what you did?" First of all, everybody's listening to Jimmy. Jimmy feels special because you've given him the stage, you've given him the spotlight, and you're complimenting him on his approach. The rest of the team is watching and they're saying, how can I do that? How can I get the same kind of recognition? Or maybe she'll notice something that I did. So doing that is good, but it looks good on you. And when you're celebrating your team to other leaders and other parts of the company, they get recognized outside of your conversations with them. And that public recognition is really, really important and it's really, really great. But when you start being known as the leader who celebrates others, everyone will want to work near you, with you, around you, be an adjacent team. That is always, going to look good on you. And it's a very, very fast way to change the culture. It's also going to encourage people to celebrate each other. And that is something that you will start building connection and trust and collaboration. All good things come from that very, very simple move. Thank you, as always, for listening to the show. I appreciate you so much. Share it with your friends. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, not Instagram. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thank you for supporting the show. Have a great day and go lead with heart. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.